Hey, let's talk about rap beef, y'all.
Books, rhymes, and life.
Welcome to Grown Man Bars, the best show on hip hop for grown-ups in America, with a record for missed three-pointers in an NBA game now stands at 75. I'm your Uncle Chad. With me, as always, is a man so cool when he goes to sleep, sheep count him. My man, Big Absolute. B.A., what's buzzing, cousin?
What's good, yo?
We are gathered here tonight to ruminate on a thing in rap music that gets us all hyped up. Beef. There are a ton of beefs that have happened in 50 years of hip-hop history, but we're going to stay focused on just a few of them, the ones we think were either the most fun or the most impactful. This is not really a ranking or anything like that, so don't get upset by that. We're just going to go through a few of them, talk about what happened with them and what we think about them, just run it through them. And then in the end, we'll have a little something for you about beef in general. If you don't want to go to that, skip on to that section. There's also a list of ones that we didn't include that we thought was still either kind of important or funny to go back and think about. So we'll put that list in the comments section. If there's anything you wanted to cover that we don't get, go ahead and put that in the comments section too. We want to hear it. We'll talk to you about it. Let's get started with some of them. I say we had to start with the Bridge Wars.
The beginning, baby.
One of the most important beefs in hip hop history. BA, I'm gonna turn this over to you because I know you are of that era.
You know what I'm saying? The golden era funny, right? And I call it the golden era. Now, some people like to stretch it out and be like, no, man, it's 90 to 2010, just like the golden era. False. 85 to 95 is the golden era. I don't care what you say. It's the golden era. However, the Bridge Wars is funny because its importance to hip hop, it might be the single most important beef in hip hop because it started with the argument of the origin of hip hop. And everybody loves an origin story. You know what I'm saying? So I won't get into the depth of the history, but what I will say is in the golden era, we had these things called, what they call? Oh yeah, crews. You know what I'm saying? Posses, if you will. And to be solidified, you had to battle. You had to go put your name, go to other people's neighborhoods, go to other people's talent shows and parties and put your name on. Around the early to mid 80s, there was a dispute, so to speak, on where hip hop originated from. If it was the Boogie Down Bronx or if it was Queens. The crew, BDP, led by the MC, none other KRS to the one, and the Juice Crew All-Stars led by Marley Marl, and had a little bit of a disarray about who really could claim that. 4 songs really come to mind that really set off the beef. The first one, of course, my favorite, The Bridge. Queensbridge was the staple of a battle track, a posse track. This is mine versus your situation. Of course, then the retaliation of South Bronx. And if you never heard the joint either, just when the beat kick in, you feel something, you know what I'm saying? And then, of course, it was Kill That Noise. Kill That Noise by MC Shan set a ripple effect in hip hop because Kill That Noise was the rebuttal, the response for all Queensbridge. And then, of course, in classic KRS-One fashion, the end all of beef all in The Bridge is over. Like, there may not have been a better song to end the beefing, but to define beef, if for all of our audience, if you don't really understand how beef can be good for the culture, that competition that beef is supposed to spawn, the Bridge Wars was a perfect, I mean, there was no crime, nobody got killed. It stayed hip hop. And that was the beauty of it.
Yeah, so let's move to another one that's, I think, a little bit different. The next one we're going to is NWA versus Ice Cube. Ooh. Now, this was a huge one on the West Coast, definitely a huge one for gangster rap. BA, we all know No Vaseline ranks up there, at least with us, but with a lot of people, as one of the best diss tracks ever. And I think this one was kind of fun because it was just a group of guys that broke up and they kind of started, I felt like NWA might have just been playing around a little bit, taking a swipe at Cube, and Cube had a lot of things built up from the time that he had served with them, and he was just like one of those people that's just like, man, I have been waiting on you to say something to me. I've been waiting on you, and
Talk
actually, I think
about
he did say that.
talk about the Webster's definition of keeping receipts. Like, talk about personal. And again, you hit it on the head with a group of guys that broke up. It was a grown man split. It wasn't feelings being hurt. It was a business decision. But inside that business decision, there was another business decision made by the remaining members of NWA to let their bruised egos vocalize. Lord knows they did not expect him to say that. There's a lot of songs that let you know what's personal, right? How you start a song lets you know how you feel deep. Would you say, I'm glad y'all set it off and then took a breath so you can just let it go? That's a different kind of situation. What'd you think about it?
That was just a fun one to me because I know like there were times they were kind of like they all still respected each other. Like you say, like nobody, that's just what beef should be. It's one thing that you expect when you break up, that somebody's got hard feelings, otherwise you wouldn't break up. So
Yeah.
you expect something like that, especially in something as competitive as rap, and that's a lot of fun for fans. And I think they did it the right way in the sense of, like you said, they handled it like grown men. Like, all right, we had this beef, let's squash this. We're good now. Let's move on.
Yeah.
And I think that's the way that we handle it on Wax, because they heard that song, they heard No Vaseline, and they were like, all right, we don't really want to do this. So
maybe we approached that wrong.
yeah, I don't even know what I was thinking. God, we going too far. That's what's happened. We going too far. We need to squash this.
That was good beef, though. That was, again, one of those healthy beefs.
Well, I got to switch over to one that wasn't, and that's the one we're not going to talk a lot about Tupac and Biggie, because there isn't a lot to say about this beef and their relationship at this point that hasn't been said. I think the only question to ask with this one is, like, you asked the question, you wanted to ask the question, is beef good for rap? And I think this is kind of one that, to me, is the example of what happens with any kind of beef, really any kind of beef at all, is that at some point, if too many people get involved in it, it gets pushed to a point where it gets dangerous and silly and childish, and like everybody gets too petty because there's too many people involved and there's too many people in people's ears and too many people know about it. So it's your ego at stake. And that's when it goes to just becoming a human thing. It goes outside of rap at that point and it becomes just a human thing to me. Like, you never want anybody to get hurt because it's something that happened on a record, something that somebody said on a record. You never want to see that. Nobody wants to see that.
No, and the crazy thing about that beef was, unlike some of the other beefs that we talked about and that we will talk about, it didn't start on Wax. It was personal before it became music. And I think that's the reason for the outcome of the altercation, is because it was never about music. Music was just another outlet to express the feeling going on in that personal situation. But like you said, you got too many people putting gasoline on the flames, and it started to burn at a temp that could not be controlled at that point, and it had to run its course one way or the other. And unfortunately, we lost two of the greatest in that situation. And the thing that makes me mad about that is when you hear running, it makes me even more mad.
Yeah.
Because they could have been doing that instead of, what the outcome of that situation was.
Yeah, and it's like we said earlier, like it's the example, it's the peril of any kind of beef is in entertainment. Yeah, it's good until it's not.
Mm-hmm.
It was good because that East Coast, West Coast thing, when it was still healthy before it got too dangerous, it was really good for hip hop because people were really into it and people were representing their neighborhoods and where they were from. It was really good for hip hop. And then, that boiled over, like we said earlier, because of all the voices and all the people gaslighting. Like that boiled over into something awful, but you know, it was great until it was one of the worst things that ever happened for hip hop.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun, some really good music. We got introduced to some really dope artists in the process that maybe we wouldn't have heard from. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really pay attention to Mobb Deep until they got rolled into the beef. And then I'm like, yo, these dudes is dope. Now, like these dudes is dope.
That's how I first listened to Jay-Z when he was like Hawaiian Sophie fame. I was like, well, let me go see what Hawaiian Sophie fame is.
Yeah, I mean, I always knew who Jazz was, but I never paid attention to Jay-Z. And I mean, you summed it up the best, and we can definitely move on from here, but it was great until it wasn't. Like, I think that was poetry, you know, the way you said that, because that is 1000% the truth. It was great till it wasn't.
Well, we can move right on to the next one, because another one, it was great until it was great, except for one person. The LL versus Canibus. That thing was just great on top of great on top of great, except for Canibus. And it was unfortunate. You know, we've covered that in another video. Go back, watch that video. We covered that, so I won't get too deep into that battle, but we've all agreed that, and I'm sorry we agree on this, nobody disagrees, that lyrical battle was just outstanding.
Yeah.
Those two people going at it verse for verse, bar for bar, rebuttals in tracks like that was pretty rare in battle. I mean, in battle tracks for them to actually battle. Like they actually rap battle. Usually I make one song about you, you make a song about me, you know, up until here lately. They had gotten away from they didn't really do that in battle tracks. It was just, I'm gonna diss you on a track and then you'll diss me on a track. But they went bar for bar, and that made that special. Canibus, unfortunately, it cost him his career.
That beef was lyrically perfection. Second round knockout, Can I Bust? It's one thing to make a diss track about somebody, drop a line or two in it, say their name in it. So people was like, oh, he threw a shot at you. But to actually make songs from other songs about your issue with a person, now we're talking about a different level of lyrical intellect, right? So when you get to second round knockout, he addressed everything that happened from 4, 3, 2, 1. And that's, you know, that's what you should do, right? It was addressed, it was handled. And then Can I Bust came out, and sometimes it was, you know, you should just take your ball and go home. That's the way I feel like. Sometimes you don't, I mean, everybody wants you to fight back, but sometimes maybe not fight back. Sometimes it's there, but it's not there. Bad for the people who were involved in the 4-3-2-1 project, because I feel like they feel like when you hear Meth talk about it or Red talk about it, like nobody really still knows what set LL off on the buses. But it did, and we got classics. That's all I'm saying. We got classics after that.
All right, let's go to another battle, one that is a little bit more fun. 50 Cent and Ja Rule. This one was a little bit more fun. Unfortunately, like the last battle, it was unfortunate for one person because it did also cost him at least a big chunk of his career. But 50 Cent is just not really a guy to play with like that. That's kind of what he's built for.
Yeah, I don't know the artist, and please excuse me, young folks. I don't even know the name of the song, but there's an artist that came out over the last maybe 2 or 3 years ago. He has a song, but one of the lyrics was like, "Looking at my watch, I got time today." 50 said, the reason why you don't want to beef with 50 is because 50 manages to have time today for that kind of situation. So you think, all right, well, it's 3:30. I could say something slick, and maybe he catch it around the 10 o'clock news. Maybe he don't. 3:45. 50 is in the studio, and he has dropped 3 or 4 subliminals on social media about what's going to happen in the studio.
He's already been booked on one of the late night shows, so he can talk about you.
So, and again, with this beef was the funniest because do you remember any of the tracks that were involved in this beef? Like any of the actual music?
The one 50 had on Get Rich or Die Trying.
That one.
That's the only one I can remember.
And then Ja Rule's Platinum. But after that,
oh yeah,
The reason why you don't remember it is because the music wasn't the most memorable part of his beat. So, it was the fact that 50 just couldn't let it. I don't say couldn't, because couldn't means that you felt like somebody else got the best of you and you just kept trying to get back and get back. 50 wouldn't let this go. And to this day, understand me, Curtis Jackson still got time today for this situation. I don't know why. I don't. Ja, if you out there, baby, what happened? What Irv really need to talk about what happened.
Yeah, and yeah, the point of all of this is if you're under 30 and you don't know who Ja Rule is and you're watching this, 50 Cent is why. That's it. Don't be for 50 Cent. It's not the rap that gets you.
A beef
All
with
right,
50
so
is a production.
and for the next beef I want to get to is another kind of fun one too. I had some questions about it, but T.I. versus Ludacris. I didn't catch this one like when it happened. I remember at the time I didn't catch it when it happened. I caught it after it started. And I just remember the whole time thinking, what is this even about? And I felt like sometimes Luda seemed to feel like that too, or at least seemed. I heard some interviews where he talked about it like that, like I don't really know why he called me. Oh, okay,
yeah, it's a strange one. Again, we got great music. Shouts out to Young Buck for being brave enough to put two people with a problem on the stage. And it was masterful to let, before you edited and remastered it, it was masterful to let each of them hear the other's verse before they wrote that verse. Like, beautiful. But that beef is funny because it was literally one of those, you woke up on a Thursday and you were like, what do you mean? What do you mean T.I. and Luda's beefing? About what? Like, what happened? And the reason why the beef was crazy is there are two different types of artists. So I guess I always struggled to feel like, what was the angle of how it started? Now, again, once it started, it was easy to see why it kept going. There was a lot of subliminals, left and right, left and right, left and right, until you heard Stomp. Neither one of them actually said the other's name. They said stuff about each other's neighborhood. They threw titles of each other's songs in bars, but neither one of them actually said each other's name until Stomp. And they didn't really say each other's name. It was a bar, but me getting beat down, that's Ludacris. What? I mean, that's a golden, good music. But I guess that's the basis of what we're saying.
Oh, War with God was no joke either. Luda's War with God, that War with God track was something to take serious too in that battle.
Yeah.
He put the pen to the paper on that one.
I will say this, unlike some of the beefs that we talked about, both of them became better artists after their beef. And the fact that they ended up talking it out as men, getting a resolution, and then doing a couple songs together, right? Just to show, hey, it's really, it's really in the past, water under the bridge, whatever it is. And we can move on and both carve out our spots in this thing. And that's when it's good. That's when beef is good, right? You get good music. You get a resolution. I won't say a happy ending, but you get a resolution that everybody can go home from. There's some success.
And that's also one of the things that I love about hip hop is the competitive nature of it. That, the crown, everybody wants the crown. And that's how you fight for the crown.
Yeah. Yeah.
You both fought each other. You were kind of on the same level at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And you both go at it. So both of you get better. And both of you climb up in status. Like that's a pretty good way to go at it. Like you're from the same place. When you're both in the same place and you're both MCs, you kind of got to go at it like that. Like, nah, I'm the best one in this city. I'm the best, because we're in the same city. So we come from the same place. If people say our city, I want them to say me and not you. And that's the dope competitive nature of hip hop. And when you can handle it that way, like, yeah, we did it. We had it out. Now we're going to do some work together and we're going to both go do our thing. Now, if you have to ask me who won that, I would say Luda, just by doing all those, getting in that Fast and Furious into those movies. He just somehow became a multi-millionaire by getting into that.
I don't know. I mean, yeah. And I agree with that. I'm
And when
sure
he got all that, money for saying 19 words. He said like 19 words in 6 movies.
I measure that differently because when I weigh Fast and the Furious 2 versus Taken, T.I. wins because T.I.'s character in Taken was the truth. Because Luda got to redeem himself in Fast 5. You know, 4 and 5. Like, okay, because Fast 5 and then 8, he was doing martial arts in 8. You know, he had a personality in 8. So
books, rhymes, and life.